So in this video, I'm going to talk about arrays and array math. So from our front panel, if we get into our modern group, we can click here under Array, Matrix, and Cluster. We can grab this element here called array. So first, what is an array? An array is a group of elements that are all organized by their index. So an array can be a column, and each element will have one index. An array can be like a matrix that you might have seen in linear algebra, so it'll be rows and columns, and each element will have a row and a column index. Or it could be 3D or 4D or 5D, and each element will have that number of indices. And so what we've done here is we've created an array, and an array can have any data type in it. It could be an array of strings or doubles or integers. And so now we need to tell it what we're going to populate the array with. And so what we're going to populate the array with in this case is numeric controls. And so if we bring that over and drag it in, we see now we have a numeric control inside our array. And so we have these little index buttons, or I can index through the elements in the array. I can also grab this expander and bring it down to any arbitrary number of array elements. And then, so I brought it down and I've got 5 here, and I could populate these with whatever numbers I like. And if I needed more, I could expand it down. If I wanted to keep going, I could keep clicking through, and this top index would be the number shown here, and then it would give me the next 5 below it. We could click back down to our 5 values. And so when would we use an array? We might get an array as an output from an instrument. Let's say we wanted to measure the temperature every 5 seconds. We might want to put that data into an array so that if we had the temperature for 24 hours and we wanted to know the maximum or the minimum or the average temperature, we could put all that into an array and start doing some operations to find out. So now we have our array of data here. Let's look at some of the ways we can manipulate it or analyze it. So under programming in our block diagram, there's an array tab. And this is some ways I can find out information about my array. I can get the array size. I can get some index in the array. I can replace some of the data in an array and plug in some new data. I can initialize an array, actually in my block diagram. So I could drop this in there and create an array that I'm going to populate with data later. That is to say, putting this array control over here is not the only way to create an array inside your VI. There are a number of ways, and initialize array is another one. What I want to look at now is max and min. We often want to know the maximum or the minimum value inside an array. So I can drag that into my diagram, and then I'll connect my array to this box here that gives me some tooltip help that says array. And if I look at the outputs, I can get the maximum value. I can get the maximum index or indices. So this is the location of the maximum value. This is the minimum value, and this is the location or the index of the minimum value. So if I go in here and I put some numeric indicators, oh boy. I can run my maximum, minimum, And you'll see it's kind of hard to tell exactly where these go to. If I click into my block diagram, and I push Control U, it will rewire my entire VI to make things a little cleaner. Sometimes this is helpful, sometimes it isn't. But sometimes it can be a good starting point to just keep up with Control U as you add components, and then you end up with a nice organized diagram. You can also highlight a certain section and push Control U, and it will organize only what you've highlighted. So now, if I run this, I see that my maximum value populated over here with a 23. My maximum index came out at 7. Oops. So if we look, array element 0, element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4, element 5, element 6, element 7. Okay, so 23 is at element 7. My minimum is negative 34, and that's at element 4, and it's 1, 2, 3 above my maximum, so it makes sense that that index is 4. And again, if I go back down to index number 0, I can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's important to note is that the first index in LabView is 0. So the first element has an index value of 0. That's different than some other languages. Most are 0, but some notable ones like MATLAB use 1 as the first index value. So it's important to know whatever program you're using, whatever language you're programming in, you're going to need to know where those indices start, or else you're going to be missing elements and not know why. So I can also take the mean of our array, which is something that we often want to do. So if I go down here into my mathematics menu, I can click into probability and statistics, and I can get a mean. So we'll wire the array to the mean, and then from that we'll get either the mean or some error message if the mean operation encounters an error. So I can put another indicator here. To it, I can wire the mean value, and when I push run, I get 1.34. I can also do the standard deviation and variance. That's definitely an operation that you're going to have to use in this class. So we'll wire my numeric control, put in my array, and here I can get the mean. So another way to get the mean. I can get the standard deviation, and I can get the variance. Let's look at the standard deviation. Oops, I wired this as an input. So you'll notice I wired this as a numeric control. And if I don't want it to be a control anymore, I can right-click on it and click Change to Indicator. And you see now it's a numeric indicator, so it has an input instead of an output. So now I can wire my standard deviation to that. I click Run, and I get the standard deviation value. That's 16 in this case. So that's a look at arrays and array math. Thanks.